Today we're going to fit the Audiosport Overhead 6x9 pod for the T4. This is our pod. It's the vehicle we're going to put it in. First things first, we need to cut some holes and put the 6x9s in. We also need to get into the back of the van and run any leads that we need to power these speakers. So we'll get started. These are the 6x9s that we're using. What we need to do is cut a hole in the pod to fit the 6x9s to. Now, different 6x9s, different manufacturers, different sizes slightly, but what you'll find is most manufacturers will give you a template in the packaging somewhere to give you the exact holes cut out. So we've marked our holes to cut them out. We're going to cut these out with an air axle, but you can use a jigsaw with a fine blade on it. We'll cut fiberglass just as easily. So we're going to put a little pilot hole, going to run this saw around and cut those holes out. Going to do that first. Okay, as you can see, we've trimmed out our 6x9 hole. You can see it fits in there lovely. So next thing we're going to do is going to get in the van, make sure we've got speaker leads at the back. As you can see by this side, I've run my cables and I've left a nice long tail to fit into the pod. What I want to do now is I want to physically try the pod in place. Now the reason I want to do this is because I believe there'll be a little bit of trimming to do. Not all vans are carpeted the same, not all ply line in the same thickness ply line. This one, for example, has got quite a thick cord on the ply lining, and I want to make sure that the pod fits snugly to the sides and up to the roof lining. So I'm going to try the pod in and as I expect, just trim it away a little bit just to make it fit perfectly. Right, we're just going to try this pod in place, as we said before, to see if it needs trimming. Now the back edge of the pod goes right up against the back edge of the door frame and pushes up into place. Now, as you can see, it's a little tight this side where the ply line of the carpet is sticking out quite a lot. So I'm just going to take a little bit off the side there and then trim it up so we'll be better positioned. Okay, what I've done is literally just slithered a couple of mil off each side of the pod, this side as well. So now when I try it in place, back edge right towards the door frame, push it up in place. Yeah, happy with that now. That sits nicely against the ply line. Once pushed in place, sitting nicely along the headlining. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is actually fit the pod. Okay, we're going to screw the pod into place. Because it's an overhead pod and it's been holding speakers, we need a good mechanical fit. Now, if you can see, the pod sits right to the back of the door frame, like that, sits even along there. Now what we're going to do is put a couple of screws in across here, and put some nice plastic caps on them, and then we're going to put a couple in each end, and then we're going to fit one each side. Okay, so I'm going to get the first one in, and then run through the rest of them. Okay, what I've done is mark the centre of the pod, drilled a hole through the pod, and then held it up, drilled a hole into the door frame up there. What we're going to do is fix it with a screw and a nice plastic cap, grey to match the pod. We're going to screw that one up, get that in place, and then we're going to go around the rest. What I also did before I put the pod up was I pre-drilled the holes for my speakers, so I don't have to do it, try and hold my drill upside down trying to drill holes once the pod is in. So I've done that beforehand. So we're going to get this screwed up now. We have our pod in place. We put the first screw in with our cap, looking fine. Now what I could have done here is I could have run a bead of silicone or a polyurethane along the inside of there to bond that up as well. I chose not to, but it's something you could do if you wanted to. We're going to put some more screws in now. We're going to put another couple each side there and there. And then we're going to put another couple towards the ends, which is going to pull the ends in lovely. So we'll get stuck in and do that. Okay, I've put a selection of screws through the back here now. Put 5 in, one in the middle, 2 each side there, 2 at the ends. Be careful not to go too far out. It comes very thin on the edge of the roof there. Don't want you to screw right through the side of the van and outside. Before we put a couple of screws in the front, this leading edge is a little bit flappy at the moment because we haven't attached it. So what I'm going to do is put a bit of this knock-on trim just on the edge to finish it. Of course, if you decided to carpet this, that won't make any difference. You don't need to use this. But as we're leaving this in its grey state, we're just going to put a bit of knock-on trim just to make the edge neat and make sure it just meets up with the headlining perfectly. Back inside the vehicle, as I was saying about the knock-on trim, just put that along the edge there just to meet up with the headlining really nice and neat and tidy. As I said, if you carpet this, you probably wouldn't need to because the rolled edge of the carpet would seam it off lovely. But we've done that there to neaten off the edge. Put a screw in each corner here. Again, make sure you screw into this panel here and not up through the roof because it'll come out through the top of the van. You don't want that. So that's our pod in and secure. Now those audiophiles amongst you might want a silicone seal all the way around the inside just to make an absolute perfect seal round there. We're not going to do that. We're quite happy with the way it is. So all we're left now is put 6x9s in. And the finished product. There we go, all installed, speakers in, looking nice, all secure, neat and tidy. Ready to start playing some music.